All right, welcome to Sport Talk on Enterprise TV, where we give you all the latest from what is happening in the world of sports. It is no longer a news that the season, when it comes to transfer, it came to an end yesterday, 1st of September 2025, where players from this great nation moved from one club to the other, talking about the likes of Samuel Chukweze, Chrisantus, Uche, the likes of Siri Desert, and Co. If you are joining us for the first time, please do well to follow us across all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. My name is John Olashikomi. Join me and let's ride together. Joining me virtually today is Daniel Osege, making a return back to Sport Talk. Daniel, welcome to Sport Talk.
Many thanks for having me. Feels good to be on the program as always, and I'm ready to go. I mean, what you call it, the transfer window has been shut in the majority of Europe, but there's still leagues like Turkey is still open, so you never can tell.
Maybe the likes of Ademola Lookman can still definitely make a move to Turkey, and of course, Senior Man Cares talking about Kelechi Iheanacho. All right, we'll be starting with Nigerian players that made a big move, and for some, I will call it a declined one. A couple of Nigerian footballers sealed both loan and permanent moves on transfer deadline day. Daniel, we'll be starting with Samuel Chukweze, the Ibeku boy. For me, I see this one as a downward move for Samuel Chukweze, moving all the way from a big club like AC Milan down to a club like Fulham in English Premier League. No disrespect to Fulham, I'm just saying, but I think they have a deep, when it comes to history with Nigerian players, the likes of Ola, you mentioned them, Dixon, Etu, Ademola Lookman, and there is still Alex Iwobi, and of course, Kevin Bassey. The reason why I would say this is a good move for him because it will definitely help Samuel Chukweze to really settle well. What are your thoughts on Samuel Chukweze moving away from AC Milan on a one-year loan deal to Fulham FC?
For me, there are two sides of a coin. You've talked about one side, which is a team that we would say by no circumstance is anywhere close to being at par with a team like AC Milan. All right, but this is a team that has I've had a lot of fantastic players in the past. Let's not forget players like Edwin van der Sar was signed, from Fulham to what's it called,
to Manchester United.
Van der Sar, who had won the Champions League with Ajax many years before that. Okay, speaking about players who played for both Fulham and what we might call it Manchester United, Louis Saha also moved from Fulham to United at some point. Dimitar Berbatov played for Fulham after moving from Tottenham to United. Okay, top players like Moussa Dembele, one of the
but that doesn't put them among the big guns in England. You have the traditional seven right now. You can't even place Fulham there.
So why I'm focused on all of this is because Samuel Chukweze he doesn't have the profile that these players I've mentioned have. Yes, he doesn't. Right? Like I rightfully said, Edwin van der Sar played for Ajax when Ajax was genuinely one of the biggest teams in the world.
Samuel Chukweze won the Europa League with Villarreal. Don't forget that, Daniel.
Okay, so we're going to be comparing the Europa League with
are you comparing La Liga to Eredivisie? Like comparing Spanish La Liga to Netherlands League?
What I want you to get from this is
the
fact that Samuel Chukweze in the first place is not a starter for AC Milan.
Okay.
So if he comes to Fulham and then becomes a starter, then it's a good move for him. Let's not forget that the Premier League is where the money is at, right? So he makes a permanent move to Fulham, and will likely be earning top pounds very soon, as compared to teams like AC Milan, who get players based on their pedigree and not because they necessarily have all the money in the world to dish out to this player. So I think if he gets to start at Fulham, then it's a good deal.
Start
But if he
ahead
doesn't,
of Adama Traore?
I mean, you never know. You
Okay.
never know. The coach must have for the fact that he went ahead to bring him. It must be in his plans. How involved he's going to be in the plans is what we don't know.
And don't
Right?
also
But if
forget
he's going to be
Samuel
starter,
Chukweze has been inconsistent for both a club side and, of course, country.
These things happen in football because you have to understand that. Take a look at a certain Jason Lingard, for instance, couldn't make the cut at United for some time and went to West Ham United on loan, and he became a newborn player. You're talking about someone with a new birth. I think Christians will understand that more.
So
you never know.
So where is Eze Lingard now? Daniel, where is Eze Lingard? He was actually declining, from a big team like Manchester United to West Ham United. In my own opinion, I said it that time when he made that move to West Ham. I said, just forget about your career. And his career ended. He is nowhere to be found as we speak.
Well, I can understand
the same will not happen to Samuel Chukweze.
Samuel Chukweze is a young man. He's probably 25 years of age. I know he's 1999 born, so probably 26.
Okay.
So Jesse Lingard was probably 30 or 29 when he moved to West Ham. So that's why
he was in his late 20s. Yeah.
So turning 30 by the end of the year, I think it was 20 it was 29. It was to turn 30 in November 2022. So it could only attract a team like Nottingham Forest. Actually, to be fair on him, he attracted a lot of teams at that point in time, but he went for the moolah. Nottingham Forest were willing to pay him as much as £200,000 per week for a player who looked like his career was dead. He had to jump on it. Other teams weren't matching that wage demand of his. So, but for Samuel Chukwueze, like I said, I mean, he has a fantastic profile. Before Lingard moved to West Ham, he had played at United for the majority of his life. Every other club he has played at were loan moves. But this is Chukwueze, who you rightfully mentioned has won the Europa League with Villarreal. He has moved to playing for AC Milan. And these are teams with some with little pedigree, some with great pedigree. So I think and just like you also rightfully said about the love that Fulham has for Nigerian players. I remember in 2010 when they got all the way to the final of the FA Cup against Atletico Madrid, there was a certain Dixie the Two in that squad at that point in time. So so if you go by that, the fact that a lot of Nigerian players have had opportunities to.
I still don't know why Nigerian players struggle. at AC Milan, I remember
performing and then getting a permanent deal.
I remember during the days of Taiwo, he also struggled. Nnamdi Oduamadi also struggled at AC Milan. Now Samuel Chukwueze is facing the same thing. We just
even Taribo West as well.
Even Taribo West. So I still don't know why they struggled, at AC Milan. But let's see how it goes. Let's just hope that Samuel Chukwueze will definitely give us what he used, to give us back then when he was at, the age, when he was playing the age grade football for the for the Nigeria, talking about the Golden England and of course Villarreal. Let's see how it goes. All right, away from Samuel Chukwueze to Fulham, let's talk about another Super Eagles player. Talking about Victor Boniface. Don't you think it is high time for Victor Boniface to focus more on football?
So the thing is, we can't come here and say for sure that Victor Boniface is not focused on football. Because in his defense, if he's not focused on football, how come he's still attracting teams? Okay, I think we have to understand that people's personalities differ. All right, some people want to party sometimes. Some people want to be seen as a funny character in the team. We always have players like that, right? Either some want to be the funny character, some will be the serious ones. None of them is a guarantee for success or failure. A certain Stoichkov, for the Bulgarian machine, you understand,
yes,
had a terrible character according to the average human standards, had a bad temperament and all of that. For a player who came from a country that is not known for footballing greatness, went on to win the Ballon d'Or in 1994, right? So at the end of the day, I always say, the attitude is not what the coaches are after, right? What the coaches need is, can you deliver? And Victor Boniface has proven that he can deliver. All
And
right,
don't
at
you
least in
think that
Germany, and that's why
attitude
he got
is one
another
of the
offer.
main reasons why AC Milan refused to sign him? Because if you take a look at his injury history, I think Boniface is better than Christopher Nkunku. And AC Milan, I mean, got Nkunku despite the fact that he's not been playing well for Chelsea.
So the thing with Nkunku is, I know he has ruptured his ACL once before, but I mean Boniface has ruptured his twice.
CL had to exclude, Victor Boniface from the 23-man list that will definitely face Rwanda and, of course, South Africa ahead of the World Cup qualifiers. All right, away from Victor Boniface, let's move straight to Christopher Uche, another fantastic player. He has been doing wonderfully well for Getafe, and, of course, when it was so far, Chrisantus, I beg your pardon, Uche, that just moved from Getafe to Crystal Palace. What a big, a big space for him to fill at Crystal Palace. You also forget, Crystal Palace lost Michael Olise 2 seasons ago. Now they've lost another fantastic player to one of the biggest team in England, talking about Arsenal Football Club. And now they brought in our own Chrisantus Uche to fill in that space of Eberichi Eze. I know this is going to be a tough one for Uche as we speak. A lot of pressure on the young man. But let's see how it goes. He has been awesome, fantastic for Getafe in Spanish La Liga. And now this is English Premier League. We call it the most competitive league in the world. All right, away from Chrisantus Uche. Why is Christopher coming to my mouth? Christopher Nkunku. Chrisantus Uche, let's move straight to, Tolu Arokodare. Tolu is now a Wolf. All the way from Genk to, Kodari, all the way from Genk in Belgium to Premier League. It seems like Nigerian players enjoy playing in the Premier League for the season of 2025-2026 season. It's going to be a good one. And of course, it's going to be a good one to all Nigerian fans that really want to watch our players in the Premier League. Like I said earlier on, that's the most competitive league. And with what Tolu has been doing in Belgium before making this beautiful move. For me, it's a good move for Tolu Arokodare all the way from Belgium to English Premier League, and also to be playing in a team like Wolverhampton Wanderers, we call him. Tolu is now a Wolf. Let's see how it goes. Tolu Arokodare will definitely be playing his trade in England at this new season. All right, away from Tolu Arokodare, let's talk about another Super Eagles player that made a big move from Scotland, to Greece. Talking about Cyril Dessers, also made a move from there. After the Unity Cup, he came out, he said something about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He said, why is it that they always invite him for, a friendly game, but when it comes to competitive match, they always ignore him. And this is an important game where we'll be facing Rwanda and, of course, South Africa. Just yesterday, September 1st, I was looking at some some journalists from South Africa, they were talking about Super Eagles of Nigeria versus, they were talking about South Africa versus Lesotho, and they said on paper they would definitely walk them over. But when it comes to Nigeria, they said Nigeria is going to give them a run for them. And then I looked at them, I said, this same South Africa that on a norms, like on a normal day, they don't use to match our own energy. You can take the records, the stats are there, but all of a sudden they just rose up and they started, competing with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But now that we have Victor James Osimhen, we just hope that Osimhen will definitely be fit, Desas will be fit, Tolu will be fit, so that we can definitely deal with them as we used to. All right, away from Nigerian players that made a move on the deadline day, talking about the transfer window that was shut down yesterday, September 1st in England. Let's go straight to the big teams we call them the Big Seven right now in the Premier League. We'll be starting from the camp of Liverpool. Liverpool signed striker Alexander Isak for a British record fee. And Isak, we discussed about it, how he was earning £120,000 per week at Newcastle United. He still have like 3 more years left on his contract, and how are we sure that they will definitely improve his contract? Even if they want to improve his contract, it will be below £200,000. And of course, this is Liverpool, one of the biggest teams in England, if not the biggest as we speak. I know that this team have won it all. They've won the Champions League, they've won the league, they've won the FA Cup, the Carling Cup multiple times. This is a winning team. Of course, he should definitely make this move to a team like in Liverpool if he really wants to win a silverware at 2025-2026 season. Let's see whether Daniel is back. Daniel, are you back?
Yes, I am.
All right, I was just talking about that big move. Liverpool. Alexander Isak all the way from Newcastle to Liverpool, and how Crystal Palace denied Gay of his own dream move. What are your thoughts?
I feel it was the worst kept secret. It was about when and not if for Isak, a player who had gone on strike for that long, and that it was expected that I would make that move eventually. It's not a very palatable news for football administrators, because player power keeps on shifting in the direction of the players above the administrators of these teams. Reported that he was, despite the fact that he stayed away from the club, so he wasn't coming to training, he wasn't reporting to training, rather he wasn't willing to get involved in match day activities. Obviously, the club still sent representatives to his home to try to convince him to stay. But something that you said, which is very, very sacrosanct, is the fact that it was on £120,000 per week. Okay, and let's be honest. As Isak joined from Real Betis in 2022, right? At that point in time, Alexander Isak was barely 21 years of age or thereabouts. I think 22, if my memory serves me right. Yes, or 22 years of age at the point in time. Coming from a team like Spain, where we know that the wages are not great. You understand? So yes, I am. So to the point of going all the way to be anyone at £20,000 per week at that point in time, I think it was remarkable. It was a big step up for him.
It was huge.
But the fact that after 3 years, they want to improve the contract. You want to know, just like you said rightfully, that it was never going to be above 200k, and at Liverpool it was being offered about £300,000 per week.
Yes, of course.
Nobody wants to nobody will want to reject such a juicy offer, especially for a team that's a bigger team. What that tells you is that you're gonna the workload on you will be reduced and all of that. Your the conversion rates, talking about your outputs or your inputs, were yielding results. I mean, they won the Carabao Cup last year, and it looked like it was like the Champions League that was celebrated, because it was really
After
big,
how
but not
many
won in a very
years?
long time. You understand? But with Liverpool, I don't think that the Carabao Cup will be celebrated as much. You
Think
understand? For a
about
team
it,
that's
we're
won,
talking about.
that's won it all, like you rightfully said. I think he's looking at the possibility of ending his career with a lot of titles, and I think that's something that he deserves, and he'll be getting it at Liverpool.
So let's talk in 1 minute. Let's talk about Gay transfer to Liverpool from Crystal Palace. Do you think that's a good move from Crystal Palace?
It's not looking great for them financially, because I mean, this is a player that was valued at around 50 to 60 million pounds. All of a sudden, his valuation dropped to 35 million pounds due to the fact that he has 1 year left on his
His
contract.
contract.
And we know that by January his value will probably drop to maybe 15 million or 10 million. And if they still do not sell by that point in time, you have to go
You will
for free.
definitely go for free.
So what my crystal ball tells me is that it won't be sold in January, because I mean it will sound like penny wise pound foolish, that kind of situation, when you didn't cash in on him when you could sell him for 35 and now selling for about 10 million or so. So they have to hope that they can convince him to sign a contract extension, but that will mean that his demands have to be met. It's going to demand a lot of crazy money from them, and I'm sure they can't. They won't be able to match that, and he will leave ultimately. Okay, but I just feel Crystal Palace just had to show a sign of strength, to show that they can't be bullied into selling their best players all the time. You understand? And it's because they are an English team. You understand? So English sides have a lot of money coming in for them. That's why they could take that. It's abundance that led to that stubbornness, in my own opinion. If they didn't have abundance of cash, I mean, think about it. If it was a French team, for instance, they would bend to Liverpool's demands. You understand, and let him go, just like PSG did with Gianluigi and Donaumma.
Yeah. All right, away from the camp of Liverpool, let's move straight to the camp of Manchester United. I think United really did well in this transfer window, that came to an end September 1st, 2025. They allowed the likes of, they released Garnacho to Chelsea, Anthony returned back to La Liga, Jadon Sancho to Aston Villa, and of course, I still don't want to believe that they needed that goalkeeper more than they need a defensive midfielder. We've seen they played 3 games so far, 4 games so far this season. Against Arsenal, it was a goalkeeper error. Against Fulham, who target to a goalkeeper. Against Grimsby, it's all about their goalkeeper. Even the last match that they managed to win against Burnley, it was all about Arthur Bayanda. Do you think this young man that is being tagged as a baby Courtois will definitely be another David here at Manchester United?
United had to what do they say? How do they say this rather? Cut their losses. You understand? They had to understand that. There was no way they will make profits from signings of players like Anthony, players like Jadon Sancho, just to name a few. Sancho, Anthony remains their second most expensive signing in the history of the club.
Yes, of course.
Only Pogba, who was signed for a world record fee, cost United more. That's a big shame. 3 years down the line, and they had to go. A player who cost as much as over 90 million euros had to go for around 25 million euros. Although you want to say they have a 50% sell-on clause, but going
that's
forward,
a good one for them. We never can tell. A team like Barcelona might bring 100 million euros next season.
let them sort their financial issues.
Come on, talk about
that. So Anthony is still a young player. He's just 25. All right. So if he has 2 great seasons at Betis, coupled with the very good season he had with them second half of last year, at 27, maybe he can still command a 60 million, transfer, and that way Real Betis will be able to recoup the amount that they paid for him, even with United getting 50% of that. But it's bad business at the end of the day because it's not guaranteed. What if he goes on to retire at Betis? What if he stays there for a longer period and maybe leaves for free or leaves on a cheap? Imagine if he turns 29 at 30 and he's sold for 15 million euros and they get 7.5 million euros added up to the less than 30 million they've gotten. It's still a ridiculous situation that they found themselves in. But like I said, they had to cut their losses and just move on with life. For Jadon Sancho, they were very lucky to to ship him out because this is a player who is on about 250k per week. Okay, so having Aston Villa come for him 9 minutes and they are willing to pay as much as 80% of his wages. That's a lot of savings for them. I mean, 50,000 pounds per week for a whole season is just 2.6 million pounds. So wouldn't they rather spend 2.6 million pounds than keep a player that wouldn't play? So I think that's a gain for them. But in the general scheme of things, it's still looks like a loss because he also didn't come for cheap, cost them over 70 million euros as well. But it's business. You win some, you lose some. You understand? So I think the only person that they made profit on was Garnacho. Made profit on him, and there's also a sell-on clause. I think 10% sell-on clause for Chelsea as well. I think Chelsea really made the most of that because if you could sell a certain Donaumma for 52 million pounds, that's including add-ons, and you're getting Garnacho for 40 million pounds. 40. I think that's a steal. That's a steal.
All right, away from Manchester United camp, let's move straight to Arsenal Football Club, the team that has not won, the Premier League in the last couple of years, talking about over 2 decades now. No disrespect to Arsenal and, of course, Arteta. The question we should be asking Arteta is, what else do you want?
Yes, we should, because you take a look at the fact that this is a manager who has spent over £1 billion, pounds in less than 6 years. Let's say 6 years max. That's an average of around 180 million pounds per transfer window, and that's big spending. This season they've gone on to sign how many players? Maybe 8, maybe 9.
Eight players.
So that goes to show that Mikel Arteta wants to go for it this time around. He doesn't want to let it slip away, and they started well. 2 back-to-back victories at the beginning of the season before losing to Liverpool. There's no shame in losing to a team like Liverpool. A team with pedigree, a team who are currently the best in the land, judging by the fact that they won the league as well last season. So a lot of Arsenal fans have given him this season as his ultimatum to turn things around. You understand? And if he cannot win a title this year, I find it hard to see how he's going to survive. To keep being Arsenal boss come next season. Don't
also forget that Sheikh Fabregas doing wonderfully well in Italy with Como. Maybe they might definitely bring back Sheikh Fabregas to Arsenal Football Club. Do you see that one happening in future?
These days, football is business, right? So as compared to in the past where focus on the football, but this time around it's business. If they are guaranteed that fans will be excited by the appointment of Cesc Fabregas, they will do it for the fans because the fans make these clubs make the money. So whatever will make the fans excited and want them to put their money where their mouth is, want to visit the stadium more often, to see home games, to buy merchandise and all of that. They will do that. That's what football is. That's where football is, and even the world at large. We've seen, people who, who are not actors, for instance, being, involved in movies these days. It's because of, they're just paying them for the value that they carry. You understand? If you have 2 million followers on Instagram now, you're like a Nollywood star already, even without any experience in acting. Okay, so I think that's the reason why Cesc coming to Arsenal is a very huge possibility.
All right, before I allow you to go on Arsenal situation, Arsenal Saga, let's talk about their latest signing, talking about Piero Hincapié all the way from Bayer Leverkusen. I know Caliafuria has been great this season so far for Arsenal Football Club. There is Lewis Kelly. So why the need for a Piero?
Just like Calafiori, he has a similar profile. Both players can play at centre back and
And
also
of
at left
course,
back.
as a left back.
All right. So I mean, with the injury to William Saliba, it looks like Arsenal had to be forced to ensure that this transfer is done. All right. I mean, like we said, Arsenal spent a lot this time around, and for the first time in a long time, this team have depth. Arsenal's biggest what would I call it excuse has been that injury to key players has messed with their campaigns. So now they have, I mean, a squad of say 25 players who can push one another. Okay, for starters, like you mentioned, Luis Kelly was fantastic last season, and he's yet to start a Premier League game this season. Okay, with the signing of Hincapié, it looks like it's going to be a much bigger struggle for him to make it into the lineup. I mean, Saka was injured, going to be out for 3 weeks, and you had options like Madueke, you had options like Ethan Waneri, you had options like Leandro Trossard to fill in that position. I mean, 3 players who can slot in. If one winger is out, that's a lot of depth.
And of course, they still complained when they lost to Liverpool over the weekend. With all these players that you just mentioned, Arsenal fans still come out. They still complained.
Maybe because they still have their scripts, fondly called the Netflix FC. So
they're talking about it's covered down.
They are made to always put on the show. All right. So I mean, their complaints sometimes can be entertainment to rival fans, and some of us love to hear them complain. All
right, away from the camp of Arsenal, let's move straight to the camp of Chelsea. We'll be going to Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea just signed another player, another Argentine, talking about Facundo, and of course, the man from Manchester United, Garnacho. What are the chances of Garnacho making it to the first team of Chelsea?
To be honest, I'm not sure if I can put would I say probability to that, because I mean, Chelsea have a lot of young players in that squad, and what that means is that these players do not guarantee that they will would I say perform at the end of the day. Okay, with that said, due to the inconsistency of a lot of players, I think he stands a chance, but you have to put in the work. Okay, Pedro Neto day by day is looking like he's indispensable.
He's looking unstoppable.
So that's one position out of a possible 2 out of the way for him. So he has to contend with beatings as well as Esteval, just to name a few. For that position, and that's a lot of competition for one position. I mean, Chelsea, obviously they know what they're doing, that they are very much aware that they're going to keep a lot of players unhappy. All right, but I think that's why they went ahead to ship out as much as 19-20 players. I mean, they did good business. Chelsea were able to generate well over £300 million, and that's really good business. Now I think the business model that they've been claiming that they want to put on the display, talking about signing young players, open if it's for a slightly inflated price, for signing them on long-term contracts, just because once they become interest to other teams in a year or 2, they can cash in on them on the basis that they are prospects and that they have a lengthy contract, so they're not forced to sell. Okay, I mean, for Garnacho, he has to put in the work. Obviously, he knows that. All right, and for for the rest of the guys who have been asked to leave eventually, they have to just go and start off their career elsewhere. I mean, very late into the transfer window, we saw, Ben Chilwell strangely moved to France. You know, although it's not entirely strangely strange due to the fact that we understand that there's a connection between
Chelsea and of course Strasbourg.
You understand, but I mean 20 players going out for about like I said, over 300 million pounds. That's good business in my own opinion.
All right, still talking about Chelsea Football Club. I really want to ask you this particular question. If you were the man called Nicholas Jackson, would you have, gone back to Chelsea with what Chelsea and Enzo Maresca did to, Jackson?
For me, I won't even look. It's easy for me to say I won't look at the treatment about being seen as a player that can be. That could be loaned down. A player who has for 2 years at the club has been the first choice striker. Signed a long-term contract. After the first season, got an improved, wages to his name. You want to feel like he will feel like he's well appreciated and all of that. To play after one more season and now be the subject of a loan deal. It can be demoralizing, right? But at the end of the day, I think it's easier for me to say I won't look at the treatment because I don't wear the shoes, so I don't know where it hurts. But anytime, any day, this current Chelsea team, if I'm to be a player for a subject of a loan move from Chelsea to Bayern Munich, I will jump at the Bayern Munich deal every time. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Right, because Bayern Munich guarantees you of titles. Chelsea, may not win a title at the end of the season, but Bayern Munich, especially with the kind of season, the way they've started the season, looks more likely to guarantee you of titles. And for the fact that after Chelsea expressed their willingness to take him back, Bayern went on to topple the transfer.
Yes, of course.
By another 10%.
I was about to chip that in.
That goes to show the hunger that they have for him. And I don't understand how a player who is going to be a deputy striker, a player who probably starts not more than, maybe 10 games or less for the team, you have to pay that much money. You know what that means? What that means is that for every week that Jackson plays or is on the books of Bayern Munich to the end of the season, the team will be billed at over 300,000 euros per week. That doesn't. So I'm yet to understand the deal. If that fee covers his his wages, maybe Chelsea will be the one responsible for paying his wages. Because if not, it makes no sense to me. How you'll be able to be spending as much as 450,000 euros if you consider his wages every week on a player who's not even a starter. It's ridiculous. But football has become very, 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 very fishy these days. You get to see.
We've
seen ridiculous transfer dealings. One that easily comes to mind is that of Atomelu and what's this Bosnian guy? Pjanic. You understand? One player being signed for a ridiculous amount, about 80 million, and the other being signed for 72 million, when neither of them was worth that figure, all because they wanted to balance their books. So it's a case of tit for tat these days. You understand? Thiago Alcantara signed for Liverpool for a mere 20 million pounds. Sadio Mane moved in the opposite direction. You understand? A few years after, I think 2 years after, for a mere 27.5 million pounds initial fee and a maximum of 35. Both players were worth more than that at the point in time they moved. But scratch your back and scratch my back, as they say. So I think there's something. I personally feel that there's something that we're not being told about this deal. The only legal thing that could be involved is probably the figure being quoted. Means that Chelsea will cover Jackson's wages. That's the only way that deal can make some sense to me.
All right, but let's see how it goes. But don't also forget that Jackson will also learn more. Under Harry Kane, the best striker in the world right now for me, talking about Harry Kane any day, anytime. Away from the camp of Chelsea, let's move straight to Etihad. We'll be discussing about Donaumma to Manchester City, and of course, Ederson on his way to Turkey. Let's talk about Donaumma. Is this the solution to Manchester City this season. We've seen Trafford. He made some mistakes even against Tottenham, against Brighton. Do you think Donaumma is the man for Manchester City?
That sounds to me like a rhetorical question, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
Donaumma is considered to be the best goalkeeper in the world according to many football, enthusiasts.
So you will pick Donaumma ahead of Courtois?
I'm not a big fan of Thibaut Courtois. Neither am I a fan of Gianluigi Donnarumma.
But if you had to pick one goalkeeper, let's say you have a team, Daniel, and you need a goalkeeper between Courtois and Donaumma, who will be your first choice?
I think it's good. It's a really tough call for me, and I'll tell you the reasons why.
Okay.
If you watch PSG's games last season, especially in the Champions League, especially in the first leg, again, and the second leg against Arsenal in the semi-finals, Donaumma was outstanding. All right. This is a goalkeeper that you check the record. He was named the best player at the Euros in 2021. Right. I think he said the Golden Glove. He was given the award for the best player, of any position. Not very often do you get to see that, right? Last time I remember any goalkeeper winning such a great individual award was Oliver Kahn in 2002 when he won the Golden Ball as the best player at the World Cup hosted in Asia. All right. So with that being said, and because of recency bias, which is almost difficult to eliminate in this conversation, I think we could be tilting towards Donnarumma, because if the Ballon d'Or is being made, today, or the FIFA the best awards is being conducted today, rather, Donaumma will be way ahead of Courtois in terms of rating. So for that, I'll just support. For me, I think both players are pretty much on the same level.
All right, away from Manchester City, let's move straight to the camp of Tottenham. Tottenham signed Randa Kolo Muani all the way from Paris Saint-Germain. Do you know my own challenge with Muani? You are coming to a team where they have two number 9. There is Richarlison, and of course there is Dominic Solanke, and you are here. Are you coming as a third choice striker or what? Because I still don't understand. And of course, kudos to Thomas Frank for also sealing the deal of Xavi Simons. What are your thoughts on these players that just joined Tottenham? Kudus, Xavi Simons, and of course, the big man himself, Kolo Muani.
For me, you have to understand that, Kolo Muani is a player that gives you a lot of options. He's not just a number 9. He's a player that could be deployed, to play from the flanks. You understand? Richarlison, we all know that he's no longer the first choice striker for Tottenham. You understand? And that's why Solanke was brought in for. I think he was brought in for a club record fee last summer. Okay, so.
But so far, so good under Thomas Frank. He has started all their games. Talking about Richarlison.
That's because there was no player to contend with. In the very first game of the season, he had to be subbed on. He didn't start the game against against Burnley, because Solanke he only got to feature because Solanke played for 12 minutes and had to be subbed on
leave the pitch
due to injury. Understand? So this signing goes to show that Tottenham want to be competitive this season. They're playing in the Champions League, they're playing in the league, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup as well. So and it's a loan deal at the end of the day. So it's just there to provide competition for with Richarlison. Whoever does the most in training gets to start. And when Solanke comes back, if he's doing well enough, he gets his position back, and Kolo Muani can return to his parent team. Okay, so I don't think it's much of a big deal right now, but it's just about letting the position be more competitive. You understand? Rather than Richarlison feeling relaxed that for the next couple of months that he'll be the only choice that they have. All right. For talking about Xavi Simons, it's definitely a player that I admire a lot. Fantastic player anytime, any day. Okay, and I think he is going to be a fantastic addition for Tottenham Hotspur. Don't get me wrong, a lot could still go wrong. It's
Mm.
life, right? But based on his ability, that's a phenomenal player. I remember how time flies. I remember maybe some 7 years ago when he was still a teenager, having that Carles Puyol
Yes,
hairstyle
of
on.
course.
Very,
Yes. Mm.
very young, very, very young footballer, just trying to make it out professional. And now to be, the star of a Premier League team, I think, football is a beautiful sport, and just like every other sport, it's sports, like I said, the general, it gives you hope for the future. It gives you the an encouragement that dreams to come true. And I'm really glad for him. Fantastic player, like I said. Chelsea went for him. I don't
Mm.
know what happened at some point. They couldn't see that deal through. But I think Chelsea have lost the chance of signing a good player. If they had
Mm.
gotten him on board, I don't see any reason why they would even need Garnacho. You understand? Because I mean, based on quality, I think Javier wants is a better player. Okay, but maybe, just maybe, the fact that they have the cold man himself, the one who owns all the cold rooms in England,
Okay.
Kopama. You understand?
High
It gives them
school
that,
farmer. Don't talk
it gives them
about.
that belief that
Mm.
they have probably the best number 10 in the league. And if you have such a player who has shown that he can pull the team to victory on his own, then you can take up the risk of not signing some more top quality players.
All right, away from Tottenham, let's talk about Newcastle in just 1 minute. Of course, they lost the best striker in the EPL for the season of 2024-2025 season to Liverpool, and now they've gotten themselves Wissa all the way from Brentford. And of course, the other man from Germany, this same season. Let's see how it goes. Wissa to Newcastle United. What are your thoughts on Wissa? And of course, they've gotten Elanga, Wissa, and of course, a lot of players this season. Do you still see them competing for the top 5 this season?
Um, I mean, Newcastle United, a very, very strong side, but it's not going to be easy. Like you rightfully mentioned, they lost Callum Wilson. You
Mm.
understand? On a free. Okay. He went to join his he joined Newcastle United after being released.
Mm.
Okay, and he started well, scored 1 goal in 3 games in the Premier League already.
Yeah, for
All
West
right.
Ham United.
Let's
Mm.
not forget that. Yeah, exactly. So that's a big loss. I'm a big fan of Callum Wilson. A player who, if only he could stay fit, can score. He can really score. He's a true goal scorer. All right. Then they've also rather lost Alexander Isak, like we said,
Mm.
like you rightfully said, a player who you talk about a player who has amassed 27 goals for them in the last season. Okay, a player who has gone for a club, a league record fee. You understand? It goes to show that, and it's not just any league. We're talking about the Premier League, yeah.
Mm.
130 million pounds is crazy money. All right, so replacing those two players with Nick Watermed, the player from Stuttgart. Fantastic player. Player who did well at the Euros on the 21s, even if he was over age at the point in time. But I mean,
Covered.
that's the rule. That's the rule. UEFA's rule. So who am I to
Mm.
judge? If you can play on that for the under 21s until you're 23. He finished as the top scorer at the competition. In a competition where they lost in the final to Germany, and just as he won the top scorers award, a certain player who also moved on transfer deadline day was the player of the tournament, talking about Harvey Elliott. So
Mm.
bringing in Nick Watermed, feeling that he's going to be able to fill in that boot of Isak, they knew for sure that it's not a guarantee. And
Mm.
although it cost them a lot of money, it had to cost them an amount that had to break Isak's club record fee of 65 million pounds,
Mm.
with a potential 4.3 million on add-ons. So, but for a player coming from Stuttgart, you understand, where he was there for just one season, okay, prior to playing for Stuttgart. He hadn't played in the Bundesliga since 2024 when he only mustered 2 goals in 30 appearances. So what am I trying to say? He can't even be considered as a one-season wonder yet because he averaged a goal in every 2 games in all competition for them, but he scored only 12 goals in 28 games in the Bundesliga. I mean, with all due respect to the Bundesliga, I'm taking the cue from you. I mean, whenever you hear the
All right. I think we lost Daniel there. That is how much we can take on Sport on Enterprise TV7. Endeavor to subscribe and click the notification bell. Don't also forget to follow us across all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. Daniel Osege has been great on the show today. Daniel? All right, my name remains John Olasukomi. See you next time.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.